I need to upgrade the gearing on my bicycle because I've been running a 1x setup with a 36 tooth chainring and an 11 to 32 tooth cassette for the last few years. The 36-11 combination is too slow when I want to go fast or I want to go downhill. I'm finding that although I do advocate for spinny gears, even the 36-11 is too easy and too slow, especially downhill. And then on the other end, the 36 tooth and the 32 tooth, that is too hard. I'm not able to spin enough. Like, I'm not even getting a 1-to-1 ratio. Ideally, I need a 36 tooth chainring and a 36 tooth cog to be able to have a bicycle with gearing that can tackle any hill or terrain. So in order to figure out what gearing, like what the lowest and highest gears I need, I'm at this site called gearcalculator.com. This is the biggest cog, this is the smallest cog, and then you have your chain rings here. If we're cycling at 90 RPM, a combination of 22-36 would produce a speed in miles per hour. We have to tell it what our wheel size is, or tire size. So 90 RPM with 32 millimeter tires, our speed is going to be around 4.5 miles per hour at the lowest combination. And then looking at the highest combination, we have 36-11 at 90 RPM. That gives us a speed of only 24 miles per hour. If we're going down even a kind of a flat hill, it won't be that difficult to get to 24 miles per hour. You know, if we want to go any faster than 24 miles per hour, we're going to need to increase our cadence. So let's try 100 cadence. That's still only yielding 26 miles an hour. So let's try 110. Not even 30 miles an hour down this hill. I'm either going to need to increase the chainring. See, as I increase the chainring, this is 40 now, my top speed increases. So I'm going to need to increase the chainring, or I'm going to need to decrease the smallest cog. See, I go from 11 to 10. That gives me another 3 miles an hour. The problem with small cogs is the smaller the cog, the amplitude of the chain moving up and down will increase. The fewer teeth you have, the sharper the angle between two teeth. So if you have imagine a triangle, that's the smallest number of sides to a polygon, or the smallest number of points to a polygon. You're going to have the smallest angles. If a chain goes around a triangle, you're going to have a lot of vibration. That's like a 3-sided 3-tooth cog. So imagine a 4-tooth cog. You'd have a slightly smoother transition from tooth to tooth. You should have less vibration. You know, it was at 11. If we go from 11 to 10, that might only be one tooth, but if you've ever ridden a bicycle with a 10-tooth cog, you'll understand that how much more vibration. So 50-11 produces a top speed of 38, almost 39 miles per hour. I would like to go 35 miles per hour. I would like that to be my top speed if I'm going down hills. 35 miles an hour down a hill on a touring bike is pretty scary. It's easy to lose control if you're turning too fast, and you're gonna garage sale everything you own or everything you're touring with anyway. Well, 50-11 is probably fine with the 38 miles per hour. I can always just go to the 12 tooth, and then I get my max 35. But if I want a 50 tooth big chainring, the smallest small chainring I can have on there is a 34, because it's really hard to find a chain set with 50, like 50-32 or 50-30 or something like that. You have to do some customizations, and this jump of 20 teeth from 50 to 30, it's not going to shift very well, and it's going to be not very reliable, and it will be difficult to tune. 34 will become the smallest chainring. Preferably for my low speed, I like to be around 5 miles per hour. If I want to go 5 miles per hour and I want to have a 50 tooth big ring, then for the little ring, I'm going to have to go all the way down to 22. I'm going to have a 50-22 chain set. This is not going to work. So let's put it back to 34. You can either decrease our chainring or we can increase our cog. So let's increase our cog until we get to 5 miles per hour. Oh, we can't even get to 5 miles per hour. We have a 52 tooth cog and we're still not even down to 5 miles. I'm going to have to run a 50-34 chain rings with an 11 to 52 tooth cassette. The problem is that no derailleur combination will be able to handle this. The difference between the 11 and 52, this 11 to 52 cassette really only works with a 1x setup. You have to go 42 tooth chainring with this 11-52. We'll just make that a 10 to 50 cassette. SRAM Eagle. Okay, so our top speed 42 miles per hour. That's way more than enough. Our low speed, we're still not even low enough. So we need to lower the small ring. Now we have 50-30. 42 is too fast, so let's lower the big ring to 35. Okay, we still have a gap of 12 teeth here, and there's still no derailleur combination that exists that can handle 40 teeth in the back and 12 teeth in the front. Most can only handle around 40 teeth total, or that's even pushing it. We can always add another chain ring. Let's look at a real triple combination. Let's just try this first one, 30, 42, 52. And now, our top speed is way too fast, so we need to decrease the size of the cassette. Let's go down to 11-42. 40 is still too fast, 6 is still too fast also, so we need smaller chain rings. So let's go to 30, let's see, 26, 36, 48. Let's try that. 37 is fine, and 5 is fine. This setup would probably work. The only problem is 26 to 48, that's 22 teeth in the front and then 31 teeth in the back. So that's no derailleur system can handle this. We need to decrease the size of the chain rings, because if we decrease the size of the chain rings, then we can also decrease the size of the cassette, and that if we decrease the size of the cassette, then we decrease the number of teeth between the smallest and biggest cog. Let's decrease the size of the cassette. Let's go from 11-42, let's go back to our 11-36. So now we're back to square one. The top speed is too fast, the low speed is too slow, so we need to decrease the size of our chain rings. Let's go from 26, 36, 48. We'll go from that to, we'll try this, we'll try 22, 33, 44. Try that one. Now we're in a good place. 22, 36, 33, 44. So our top speed, 34, low speed, 5. There are derailleur combinations that can handle this. The problem is they're only mountain bike systems, okay? You have to have flat bar, you have to have trigger shifters or twist shifters. There's no road bike system that can handle this. If you want triple chain rings on your road bike, the smallest cog they allow is like a 30. So this is the smallest triple that has a 30. 30, 40, 50, let's try that. Now our top speed is too fast, low speed is too fast. 22 teeth between 30, 50, and then we got 25 teeth between the small and biggest cog. This isn't going to work either. This is too many teeth in this system. Manufacturers just have not created a front derailleur that can handle. You have to go with a mountain bike system, and road triples always have big chain rings, and mountain bike triples always have little chain rings. So let's go back to our 50-34. The top speed is 38, bottom speed is 8. These are both too fast. I don't need to go 38, but I do need to go lower than, I need to go down to 5, remember? So two things we can do. We can either decrease the size of the chain rings, or we can increase the size of the cassette. Or we can do both. We can do a combination of both. But let's just try, first let's try decrease the size of the chain rings. The biggest chain ring we can use 45 would be fine, and then to get down to 5 miles per hour, we need to go all the way down to 22. This gap of 22 to 45, nothing exists like that. Let's bring it back to 34. We're going to need to increase the size of the cassette. So let's try, instead of 11-36, let's try 11-40. So now we got 38 miles per hour still, because we still have our 11, and then we're getting down to 7 miles per hour. So this is still too fast. This is still too hard going up hills. I need something, easier. So we can increase the size of the cassette a little more. Let's try 1142. Yep, still too fast. Let's try 46. Still too fast. Let's go all the way back to our SRAM Eagle. Still too fast. So we've concluded that both the option of decreasing the chainring size by itself will not work. We need to do a combination of both together. So let's bring it back to our 1136. We got our 5034, 1136. First, let's decrease the size of chainrings a little bit. Let's go 30 45. So now we're down to 35 miles an hour, and 7 is still a little bit too fast. We're gonna look at a bigger cassette now. So we got 1136. Let's go to 1140. So now we're getting down to 6 miles an hour. That's still a little bit too fast. So let's go down to 1142. Still too fast. 1146. We got it now. The problem is this is still too large. This 1146. We need to decrease the size of the chainrings even more. Let's see what other chainrings we can find. See, there's 2842. Let's try that. We got our 5 miles an hour. 32 is a little bit too slow, so we need to go faster than 32. So we can either increase this till we get to 35, or decrease. We can lower the 11 down to a 10 to get up to 35 miles an hour. The problem, again, going back to those smaller cogs, a 10-tooth cog is there's just so much vibration. You know, even 11-tooth is a lot of vibration still. I would go up to a 12, but the problem with that is it's really hard to find a cassette that starts with a 12-tooth, that has a 12-tooth small cog that also has this many cogs. You know, I don't want to go down to a 9-speed or a 10-speed cassette because you just get less combinations. You know, there's bigger and bigger gaps. Like if I needed a 12-tooth cassette, I'd have to actually, I wouldn't be able to move this up to there. I'd have to actually get rid of this, because now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now we have a 10-tooth cassette, and so I'd have to lower this down to 12, and then I have to lower this down to 14. Like all, you know, now there's just these big gaps here. So if we're going to use derailleurs, this system needs to be either 11-speed or 12-speed. 12-speed is still very expensive, so 11-speed is really the only way to go. So the only way to increase the top here is to increase the size of the chainring. A 45-tooth chainring would work. The only problem with that is the jump between 28 and 45. That's not going to work, because now, you know, we're at a 17-tooth jump. The largest jump we can handle on a 2x is going to be 16 teeth. Remember, 50 minus 34, that's 16 teeth. So need to go down to the biggest ring we can run is going to be 44. We're kind of stuck with this 2844 with 1146, but again, you know, this 1146, this is too big. So let's lower the 46 down. Let's lower it back down to the 40, and our top speed is good, close enough to 35. I'm not going to, you know, cry over 1 mile per hour. And then same thing on the low side. 6 miles per hour is pretty close to 5 miles per hour. I'm not really going to cry about that. So as far as a 2x system would go, I think this would be the best. But before we conclude that you know, this is going to work and everything, let's see if we can find this 2844 crankset. Let's see what they say about it. Just not really finding any lower climbing gears on your road bike. 4428. Let's see. 4832. This is 4630. 4024. That's crazy. Here's 4428. Middleburn Incy. Middleburn closes down. One problem buying bicycle parts is you want to make sure that the manufacturer is still around, or that it's still going to be easy to find parts, because it's like, if I need to ever replace a part from the bike, then I need to make sure that the manufacturer still makes those parts. Otherwise it's going to become difficult to find, and then it's going to be very expensive to upgrade the bike potentially in the future. So we want to choose brands that are well known, that have been around for a long time. Let's look around a little bit more for this 28 to 44 chain rings. Okay, so after a bit more hunting on the internet, I've discovered this. There's a lot of options. There's from 4630 all the way down to 4024. Custom options are available on request. So yeah, I'm gonna go with this. This is the best option. Before we develop our setup a little more, another technology that is very popular is the one by. We talked a little bit about that and why it wouldn't work for my setup, but I'm just gonna go back to it. If we're going to use one by, we need the biggest possible cassette we can get our hands on. So let's try Sram Eagle. Okay, so a 500% range. So we said we want to get from 5 miles an hour up to 35. So we're at 34 right now. That's, you know, that's as low as I'm willing to go, and we're only at 7 miles per hour at the low side. So let's go down to 5, and then our top speed is now 25. So we're going to have to compensate one either way pretty significantly. 38. This cassette has huge gaps. We have a 20% jump from the 10 to the 12. And then we have a 17 from the 12 to the 14. This 14 to 16, this 14% is okay. The weird thing is we have another 17 from 18 to 21. I don't know why they didn't just, you know, put a 20 there and then make up the gaps more on the other end where you don't really need such closeness. But when we go one by, the combinations are, we can't do any zigzagging from chainring to chainring to find the right combination. The combinations we get on the cassette, that's it. That's what we get. So we want as many gears as possible. A 10 to 50 tooth cassette, that's not going to work because these combinations, these jumps are just too big. I don't want to do that. There's other cassettes that start at like 9 and they go to, I think I saw one that goes from 9 to 46. You know, 11% more is not going to help our range very much. And those cassettes are very expensive. They're, you know, exotic. If they break down, you're going to have to buy that whole cassette again. There's no individual parts that you can replace. It's made out of exotic metals, and you need an exotic hub on your bike, and you know all that stuff is not going to be very easy to find when you're on a tour or when you're doing a pandemic apocalypse style cycling. So we need a system that's relatively easy to fix and replace and well known and all that. Spa cycle seems like a good option for that. Square taper bottom bracket, that's very easy to find and, you know, in any country. The other two technologies that we have available in 2020 are there's the pinion system. This is an 18-speed gearbox essentially. I'm sure it's very reliable, and to have 18 gears, you know, let's see what the range is on that. This is the P118, this is the same exact system here. Looking at our top speed, this gives like the perfect range. We have our good top speed and our good low speed. The problem with the pinion system is this, you know, this system you have to purchase with the bike. Like this, it comes as part of the frame. I would have to buy a frame that it comes with. So let's see what the price is on that. Okay, so I'm gonna have to buy this $2,300 bike, and then again, it doesn't come with road. It doesn't come with road shifters, so I'm gonna have to settle with flat handlebars. I'm gonna have to buy this $2,300 bike just for the gears that I need. So I'm going to nix the pinion. What about the speed hub? That'd be this one right here. So the good thing about this is I can put it on any bike. I can put it on my road bike, and I mean, I can put it on I don't have to buy the frame. I can put this hub on my bike. The problem with this, the roll-off is, if you notice, every bike you see it with has flat handlebars, and that's because the roll-off shifter is only designed for flat handlebars. What is this? Because I see a road bike with, is that the speed hub? That is a road bike. That is the speed hub. Okay, I don't see road shifters on here. Let's see, what did they do about shifting? Oh, they put the shifter on the bar end. You can see it right there. You know, I like to have my hands on the hoods, and I like to shift a lot, so I don't want to have to lower my hand down to the shifter back and forth. The thing about the speed hub is you have to stop your pedals, shift, and then pedal again. Additionally, let's see, $1,600, or sorry, $1,600 just for the hub and shifter. So yeah, I don't want to pay $1,600 just for a hub. I can spend $500 on entire group set for my bike, and then I can spend the remaining $1,100 on other things. I'm going to nix the speed hub. And so that leaves our only option as the 2x. Continuing with our 2x development process, figuring out what parts we're gonna need. Let's get back our setup here. We need to find an 1140 cassette, 1140 XT. This is the most popular one. That's one option. Sunrace. Okay, so there's the Shimano XT, and then there's the Sunrace MX8. Shimano SLX 11-40. Looks like that's probably the only options. Even doing a Google search, if it's too difficult to find, then it's probably going to be too difficult to find at a bike shop in real life. We don't want to be experimenting on the road. I think Shimano and Sunrace are really the only two options. They're going to be easy to find, or easy to order from. Or Sram is another good company with the parts are easy to find. But it looks like they only have the 1142 cassette. They don't have 1140. I don't know why. So something cool with a bike calculator, we can compare two models. We can compare two setups. So if you look at the cogs on the 1140 Shimano, the XT setup. So here are the gears for the Sunrace cassette. I'm going to put those gears into the gear calculator. So we got 40, 36, 32, 28. These gears are kind of similar to the 1142 of the SRAM 1142, and I don't like these gaps because this is the 17 tooth right there. I mean, that's pretty close to the middle of the cassette, so it's going to be potentially uncomfortable. So the Sunrace I'm going to nix the Sunrace, and I'm just going to go with the Shimano, the XT, or the SLX. The only difference between the XT and the SLX is the SLX is like $30 cheaper, and then it weighs a tiny bit more. But I'm not really concerned about weight with this setup. I just want it to work. Put that there. There's our cassette. Another thing we're going to need is our shifters and derailleurs. As far as group sets go, there are 5 main manufacturers: Campagnolo, Rotor, and FSA. It's not very easy to find parts for these manufacturers at bike shops, and you need to be able to find your parts quickly and easily. They need to be readily available. You don't want to wait for shipping. These manufacturers are generally more expensive as well, and they don't have a lot of options. I'm going to have to exclude them and just stick to SRAM and Shimano. Both SRAM and Shimano make 3 different main levels. Shimano makes 105, Ultegra, and Dura Ace. SRAM, they make Rival, Force, and Red. And both manufacturers make lower tier groups than the lowest I've listed here, but for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to list their main 3. And so these 2 manufacturers, they both start with an S. They both make 3 versions, and they're both virtually the same, and all 3 of these feel the same. All 3 of these feel the same. The only difference is you get Dura Ace is expensive, Red is expensive. Ultegra and Force, they're kind of middle, and then 105 and Rival are standard. That's really what you should be buying. So we're going to nix the higher tier. So we got SRAM, Rival, Shimano, 105. Those are our options. So each of these work very well. They're easy to find in stores. Each group set operates a little bit differently than the other. Depending on who you talk to, it's virtually 50%, 50% either way. People will tell you what they prefer and which one's better. I don't really have a preference myself as to how they feel or what they do or how they work, because as far as shifting goes, that is something you can just get used to. And these manufacturers have developed their shifting over the years to be so reliable that neither one of these technologies are more reliable than the other necessarily, because they're in such close competition. I mean, look at the prices. The prices are virtually the same. It really comes down to the front shifting. When it comes to front shifting, SRAM is far superior, because when you shift from one chainring to the other, the cage will rotate and stay more or less parallel with the chain. You never have to worry about the chain rubbing the derailleur cage. Whereas with Shimano, there is no rotation or yaw, as SRAM calls it. This is dealt with position points in the shifter. Say you're in the big chainring, and then you need to shift gears in the back to go to a easier gear or a bigger cog. Then at a certain point, if you leave the front shifter where it is, then eventually the chain is going to rub on the front shifter derailleur cage. On the front shifter, you're going to have to position the cage with the shift points that they have, with the trim position points that they have in the shifter. You're going to have to adjust that in order to keep the chain from rubbing. Say you're going on terrain where you're shifting a lot, like you're shifting from the big ring to the small ring, and you're shifting up and down the cassette. You're going on some rough trails or constantly speeding up and slowing down. Then you're going to have to be trimming a lot, and that just becomes cumbersome, and I just don't want to deal with that. SRAM Rival is the group set that I'm going to go with. So we need to find all the parts for that. So we found our crankset, we found our cassette. We need to find our shifters. For SRAM Rival, we have two options. We have mechanical brakes and we have hydraulic brakes. When you're on a tour, you really don't want hydraulic brakes, because if the system leaks, then you're not going to be able to brake, or you're only going to have one brake. And you're going to need to carry a kit to bleed the brakes, or to repair the brakes, or it doesn't necessarily require more maintenance, because hydraulic brakes are typically very low maintenance. But if something does go wrong, if there is a leak, then they're not necessarily more reliable than mechanical brakes. They are lower maintenance, but they're not necessarily more reliable. And they are more expensive, so if something does break and you need to replace the parts, then it's going to be more expensive. And keeping with our theme of, the cheapest possible option and the most reliable option and easy to find and all that, we're going to go with mechanical. We need to search for SRAM Rival mechanical shifters. $200. Here's our shifters. And then we need front derailleur. We'll just stay on Amazon. $30. Front derailleur. SRAM Rival rear derailleur will not work with this setup, because the rear derailleur cannot handle the capacity of the two chain rings in this huge cassette that, this 1140 cassette we're putting on the bike. It will not be able to handle the 16 tooth gap between the chain rings and the gap between the 11 and 40 tooth cogs. The good thing about SRAM is that all of their 11-speed, most of their 11-speed road and mountain bike components are interchangeable. You have to check the cable pull ratio. We need to find what is the pull ratio of SRAM Rival. It says exact actuation here. What does that mean? All exact actuation means is 1-to-1. So we need to find another exact actuation rear derailleur, because that will be compatible with our rear shifter. Okay, I found some road derailleurs that have the 1-to-1 actuation ratio. So there's this X5. It says 10 speed, but this was before they had 11 speed. So I'm fairly certain that 10 speed and 11 speed should be compatible. There's only one way to find out. Yeah, here's $46. So I'm gonna go with this this X5. If SRAM still has this on their website, they still sell it. If they still sell it now, it should be easy to find these parts for the next 5 years, 5 to 10 years. We're going to need to get a chain also, and any 11 speed chain will work fine. I've heard really good things about Shimano Ultegra 11 speed chains. The chain is so important, and if it doesn't shift well, it's just not going to be enjoyable. So I'm going to, this is the chain, this is the model I'm going to get. So Shimano Ultegra 11 speed. The only thing left would be brakes, and I don't need brakes. I already have extra cables and housings, so I think this is all the parts that I need. So the crank set, I think it was 70 euros. That's $75. I'll round up. And then the cassette is 53. The shifters, 208. The front derailleur. And if you choose your front derailleur, you need to make sure you get the braze on or the clamp on. There's 2 different kinds. The rear derailleur was 46, and the chain was 31. So we add up the total for all this. Okay, total $452. Instead of buying from these stores, we can search around to find the cheapest parts. So as far as the spa cycles, I think that's the only place to get it. So I'm pretty happy with $76 for a new crankset. That's pretty good price. The 1140 cassette M7000 for $53. Let's try to find a little bit cheaper. $60. We may have actually found the cheapest price already. Jensen is the one that had it for 53. Yeah, it's more. Okay, I'm satisfied with the 53. Moving on, let's try to find cheaper shifters. Actually, we can go eBay. $200. I'll go with this site. eBay, $200. Let's replace that. 200. Total goes down to 444. That's a nice round number. On the front derailleur, see if we can find that cheaper on eBay too. Maybe backcountry. Well, they only have braze on. We need the clamp. Competitive cyclist. Braze on. Well, that's another problem. We need to make sure that we can find the clamp. And there's a clamp adapter, but I don't want to. That's $30 plus this. That's almost $50. I imagine there's a kind of a supply chain problem because of the coronavirus. We got to add $40 or $2 more on our total. Let's see if we can find this X5 rear derailleur. Need to find the 10-speed one. Just not finding it. And I'm gonna go with this one. It's taking too long to find the part, so I'm wasting time. Chain. Let's try to find a cheaper chain. I don't really need a new chain, but it's good to have a new chain when you get new gears. Looks like I already found the cheapest chain too. That's it then, $446. These are the cheapest prices I could find within an hour of searching. So I'm gonna purchase these parts, and then once they all get delivered, I will post a new video unboxing them and installing them and setting it up and making sure that it works and showing you guys the result. Thank you for watching, and please stay tuned for more.